Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in today. My name is Jonathan Liu and I'm here with Bridget. And today we wanted to just have a little conversation about self-love and being selfish. Recently we've noticed that a lot of people believe that giving yourself self-love or putting yourself first is the same thing as being selfish. And we kind of wanted to just throw our input in on this and give you kind of our perspective on what self-love and selfish means. So Bridget, what exactly what is the difference between self-love and selfish?
I actually saw it from the book written by Anita Morjani. If you're interested, definitely check out that book. That book is awesome. It's called Dying to Be Me. And she said, I really like what she said. She said, selfish is actually a lack of self-love, which is true, because think about it. A lot of people who don't love themselves enough, they constantly want to please other people, hoping that other people will love them back. Or for example, Jonathan doesn't remember this.
I don't.
Back in the days when we first started dating, I remember this one year that I wanted to surprise him, so I held a surprise birthday party for him. So I invited a few of his friends over to the house, and afterwards I was like, because back then I was like, I didn't love myself enough. I was thinking, okay, if I do this birthday party thing, he's gonna be really, really happy. That means he's gonna think I'm the greatest girlfriend ever in the world, and he's gonna love me so much, right? And everything went really well. He had fun, he was appreciative. However, after the party, he went straight out to go drinking with his friends. And I was like, I was so mad at home. I was so mad. Yes, I was really mad. And I kept texting him and giving him a guilt trip, because in my head I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I did all these for you. I invited all your friends over, and now you're out drinking with your friends. You don't even want to spend time with your girlfriend? And of course we had a little argument, no actually fight. And after we have a conversation, he said, you know what, it's not fair. I didn't ask you to do this for me. At the time when I heard that, I was pretty mad.
She was mad.
But later when I calmed down and think about it, which is true, he didn't ask me to do this, but because I didn't love myself enough, and I was hoping if I do something for him, then I would get the love from him, which is very unfair, and that's very selfish.
So you're saying that selfish is actually, it's almost the complete opposite of what we normally think, right? Because normally we think, okay, selfish, you do stuff for yourself, and then you don't think of other people. But really, being selfish is a lack of self-love.
Lack of self-love.
So you're saying that you actually are selfish when you do stuff for other people and are expecting something in return? Is that considered selfish?
I think it's gonna be very tiring for the relationship goes both ways, because when you want to do something for other people, you do it from a place of happiness. You do it from a place of willingness and joy. But if you're doing it out of obligation, doing it out of guilt, and doing it, oh, I'm just doing this to please you, it's not the right energy to give off.
Okay.
And eventually, it's gonna start building resentment.
Got it.
For both parties.
Here's another question then. What if there's okay, so let's say there's a birthday party with some kids, right? And there's 10 kids and there's 10 pieces of cake. And then let's say the one kid, maybe it's his birthday or whatever, he says, no, I don't want to share any of my cake. I want to eat all my cake to myself. And nobody gets it. Is that considered selfish?
That is probably.
So how does that work? Because obviously he's not expecting something in return. He just wants everything for himself. So how do you determine?
That is also a lack of self-love. Imagine if a little kid, he constantly understand to give himself love. If he constantly understand that, hey, I have so much joy, I have so much love in my life, I actually don't mind sharing it with other people. It's because he doesn't have enough, that's why he wants to have it all.
So once again, going back, selfish is really just a lack of self-love.
Yeah.
So let's we talked a little bit about selfish. So let's talk about self-love then. What is self-love really?
Self-love, I came up with 5 definition or the action steps that we could actually take to gain more self-love, and today I'm going to share 3 of them.
Well, let's start with the definition first. What is self-love?
Self-love is having compassion for ourselves, to understand self, and stop judging ourselves.
So, to stop judging ourselves, so you're saying like stop criticizing ourselves, stop being so hard on ourselves. Now, why is it that we're so hard on ourselves?
Experiences in our lives, expectations from the world, expectations from parents or teachers or peers. We constantly compare ourselves with other people, and constantly, because we don't think we're good enough, or we are constantly strive to be better, that we don't give ourselves enough credit for the things that we actually have achieved.
Okay. So, as far as self-love goes, what else? Okay, so let's get into the tips of self-love then. What are your 3 tips that you can help our viewers out today?
Number 1 tips I would definitely recommend is forgiveness. Forgiveness is number 1 to self-love, because I believe forgiveness comes from a perspective of understanding. I actually just went back to Taiwan in October. I took to visit my dad for the first time in 16 years, as I haven't already mentioned. I had a pretty rocky childhood, and all my memories about my childhood and about my past, as well as about my dad, wasn't very pleasant.
Okay.
So I actually avoided talking to him for about 3 to 4 years, even on the phone, just because I felt like he was criticizing me, and I felt like he didn't think I was good enough, and I didn't want to talk to him, and I was avoiding that relationship. But inside of me felt very, very guilty, because how Asian culture is. We're supposed to be good daughters, good sons, by obeying or following what the parents say.
Yep.
And I didn't do that. So I had a lot of guilt inside me. But I was given an opportunity to go back to Taiwan to visit my family in Taiwan. And the moment when I saw my dad, I came to a realization that I was wrong about the perspective that I had about my father. Back then, whenever we were on the phone years ago, I would always feel like, he didn't care about me enough. If it wasn't for my brother, he would never call me. Or every time I tell him what is it that I like to do, he will always criticize me, saying that I wasn't good enough for it, or gave me the impression of that. So I always had blame. I always felt like I wasn't good enough. I always felt like it's all his fault because I become the person that I am today. So, but then the moment that I saw him,
a helicopter.
Yes.
We're gonna let it fly by.
But the moment that I saw him, I realized I was completely wrong. He actually does love me. It was the first time in my life that I actually felt love like my dad. I guess it's because now I'm able to look at him in the eyes, and he just gave me the assurance that, wow, I'm so glad to see you here. And I had the realization, wow, the reason why he talked to me the way he did wasn't because he didn't think I was good enough, but because he couldn't see me. He didn't know what I was doing. So he didn't understand. He didn't know how to express love in the way that I wanted him to. But I took it personally. So there was unforgiveness. But after having the understanding that he actually does love me, then forgiveness takes place.
So, very, very wow. Thank you for sharing that with us. And here's the question that comes to mind, and it's for our viewers actually, is how do you forgive someone when you feel that they've hurt you or they've treated you in a manner that you didn't appreciate, or you do all these things for them and you're hoping that your relationship can get better, but they just treat you like crap or they take advantage of you? How do you forgive them?
I'm not saying it's easy. Forgiveness is probably the hardest lesson a human can learn on this earth plane. And I think the best that we can do at the moment that we know how is to come from a place of understanding. Because a lot of time when we're looking at the situation from our perspective, that's why we get so mad. We take it personally, thinking, oh, he or she did that because he or she must think I'm this way.
Okay.
But a lot of time, it's not because of us, but it's because of them.
Okay.
So the reason why we think this way about other people is our projection about ourselves.
Okay.
But if we just, pull ourselves back a little bit to, instead of looking at the whole situation.
So you're saying just let's look at it from their perspective.
Yes.
Let's try to understand them.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That can be difficult at times, right? We've all
easy.
been there, especially when it's like, oh, I can't believe he did that, or I can't believe she did that, and it's but it's a work in progress, and as long as we're aware of it, I feel that we have an opportunity to change our behaviors and try to really understand the other person and give them compassion. Okay, great.
And here's also why forgiveness is important, because ever since I let go of the resentment that I had about my past, about my childhood, about my father, I came back to the U.S. feeling different. I didn't know what was different about me, but if I hadn't already mentioned, I have pretty bad sugar addiction. I love sugar, I love carbs, and everything I eat has to be, I love desserts. And I was very well aware of that, and I wanted to get rid of that addiction. I really want to change my diet, but I found it to be really, really hard to do. Every time I would start something and then stop in the middle, give up in the midway. However, this time when I got back from Taiwan, it was easier. It was a lot easier for me to make the choices that are actually good for me. And in the beginning, I'm like, that's kind of weird. Before, I found myself to have difficult time, choosing the right choices for myself or changing my diet. But now it's like, wow, I can do this a lot more easily. I am willing to do this. I want to do this because I love myself a lot more now. Letting go of the resentment. Because when you have resentment for other people, you actually also have a resentment for yourself, for having that resentment.
Right. It's like trying to poison someone else by drinking the poison. You're drinking the poison expecting them to die.
Yep.
That's all resentment is. Okay, well, let's move on to the next tip. What's tip number 2 for self-love?
Tip number 2 was what we talked about earlier, is to stop judging yourself and comparing yourself with other people. The first step is to accept who you really are. And I actually just did this exercise yesterday. I was, working on myself earlier. I was reflecting upon my own thinking, and I guess Creator guided me and gave me tips on how to accept ourselves for who we really are. And all he asked me to do is to get a mirror in front of you, look at yourself in the mirror. And a lot of people are going to be afraid of this, but try it. Do it on your own. Do it when you're alone, and just look at yourself in the mirror. Whatever it is that you see, sometimes when you look at it, oh my God, it's ugly. Oh my God, I have a lot of wrinkles. Okay, whatever thought comes to you, just said, okay, I accept that. I accept that I have wrinkles on my face. I accept the sadness that I see. I accept the tiredness that I see in my face. Okay, but a lot of time we have resistance. We go, but what if for example, recently I feel like there's experiences of lack, and I see that, I feel that in myself. I look at myself and go, oh my God, I feel lack. I see lack. I go, but okay, I accept, the experience of lack. But I'm like, wait a second. But what if I accept the experience of lack? Does that mean I'm going to create more of it? And we're going to have resistance. So that way, when I have that, and I go, okay, then I release the fear of the experience of the lack. I allow myself to release the fear that I have about lack. And also I release the blame that I have about lack. And as I allow myself to just release it, just as long as I said, okay, I'm willing to release it, and I'm willing to accept the experience of lack, it actually got shifted.
So this exercise, I did this also today, basically is about just accepting ourselves for who we truly are completely. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. And from my experience on this one, it was, I looked in the mirror, and not only did I see it, but I felt it. And maybe some of you guys can relate to that, where you look at yourself and you feel something. You feel, I felt angry, I felt sad, I felt pathetic, I felt all these negative emotions, but then I accepted them, and I, released the blame to these and released the fear of these. And slowly but surely, you'll notice that it starts with negative things first, right? Because that's what we pay attention to. And then after the acceptance and the releasing, and when it starts getting better, you start noticing the positive. And that's when it's like, oh wow, cool. And it's a lot easier to accept the positive than the negative sometimes. But it was definitely a shift. I could feel the shift just in myself, feeling a little bit, better about my situation, myself, my just life in general. And it's helps you really gain some clarity in your life. So thank you for introducing that exercise to me.
Yeah, and it's very important that when we look at ourselves in the mirror, that's probably going to start with some negative thoughts like, oh, I have so many wrinkles on my face, to, hey, I'm actually beautiful. Ooh, I'm actually sexy. So accept that, because a lot of times we're not giving ourselves credit for that. So accept the beauty, accept the handsomeness, and accept the cutiness in yourself.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's great. So we've got forgiveness, right? As for self-love, we've got forgiveness, and then we've got stop criticizing, judging ourselves, and fully, truly accept ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. So what's the last tip of the day?
Number 3 will be stop scaring yourself with your thoughts.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, we were pretty well trained to think of the worst possible scenario before anything happens, just because we believe we need to have backup, which there's nothing wrong with it. However, a lot of time we think so far ahead that we're so into it, we believe it's true when it's actually not happening yet.
Right.
I actually had a client who called me and said, Bridget, oh my God, I know I'm not supposed to think negatively, and I try not to think negatively, but I can't. It's just too hard. It's just too hard. I can't do it. And I go, wait a second, hold on. I'm not trying to tell you not to think negatively. I actually, because, take baby steps. The negative thoughts is always going to be there, because as a human, we have this thing called ego, and it exists within us. It will always be there. But that's also accept it. Accept that we have the ego. Accept that we're always going to have negative thoughts. But that's okay. It's not to think about it. It's more of choosing your thoughts.
Okay.
Because your negative thoughts is like a baby who cries. You can't tell a baby not to cry. That's the only language the baby knows how. So what we can do is, instead of focusing on the negative thoughts, we go, okay, be well aware of it. I go, now I caught you. I have my negative thoughts. I get it. I have my negative thoughts. Okay,
yep.
I get it. Good job. I got my negative thoughts. Now, okay, I'm gonna put it aside. Is this negative thought true? Are you 100% sure that it's gonna be true, or is it real? 100% real? If it's not, okay, what would be the other possibilities that it could actually help me elevate my mood, my emotion, to give me courage, to give me wisdom, and give me clarity to move forward towards the direction that I actually want to go?
Okay, can you give me an example? Because I get the idea, right? Be aware of your thoughts, let the thought come through, and then ask questions about the thought. So let's run that through. So let's say I have this thought that comes into my mind of, I don't have enough money, or how am I going to pay my bills this month? So that thought comes through, and it's one of those conditioned ones that, because of through my past, I've had that, and I've been working on it. I notice it, I say, okay, cool, that thought comes through. Now what do I ask that thought? What are the questions?
So this is what I would do. We always have the feeling of lack.
Okay.
Sometimes, right?
Yep.
So when this feeling comes up, then we go, okay, I recognize you, I see you,
yep.
I know you're here to protect me. Thank you very much for your opinion. But now, okay, it is true that I may feel a sense of lack.
Okay.
It is true. I'm accepting that.
Sure.
Okay. But is it really true that I have, nothing? Is it really true that I'm really, really just poor? Is it really, really true about my thoughts where absolutely have, nothing to support me. Right? So now I go, maybe it's not. Maybe I actually have something. Okay, let's say no, I don't have money.
Okay.
Okay, but what do I have?
You have your health.
I have my health.
You have a roof over your head.
I do that. I do have that.
And you have, I guess, a positive attitude.
Yeah. So we go from there and I go, okay, so I have all these things. Even though money may be the issue right here, but we gotta first elevate our mood, to allow ourselves to look at the things that we already have. And go, you know what? Life is not that bad. Okay, now I'm able to look at life from a different perspective. Okay, now we gotta be realistic. Okay, we really don't have money. We gotta accept that, right? Now, since we elevate our mood, then we go, okay, now I feel a little bit better. Okay, I do feel that I have the support from my family. At least I have a roof over my head.
Yep.
Now, what else can I do at this moment to change the situations in my life? Because you can't make any changes when you're in that state of negativity, because you're constantly gonna make decisions or you're gonna make choices based on that negative thoughts. But we want to shift that a little bit.
Okay.
Elevate ourselves a little bit and go, okay, so now let's look at this situation from a more positive perspective. What else can I do?
So elevate your mood and then see what you can do to shift your perspective.
Yeah.
Once again, it's all about perception.
Yeah.
What we see, how we're looking at things. So we've got, okay, so let's just do a quick recap here. Number 1 is forgiveness, right? On self-love is forgiveness. Number 2 is to stop judging ourselves, criticizing ourselves, and fully accept ourselves now as we are. And finally, the last one, which is just basically
stop scaring ourselves,
right? The fear of just our own heads. Do not let our own heads run through, those crazy thoughts.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Well, that was awesome. Is there anything else we want to say to the viewers today?
We love to serve people, and there's actually a lot of things that we want to share. And we really appreciate if you let us know how we do in this video. And if you have any questions that you would like us to answer, please email us at create with a create.dreams dreams@gmail.com. create.dreams@gmail.com. Let us know how we're doing, and if you have any questions, and find us on Twitter.
Okay. Very cool. Well, thank you, Bridget, for your time and your input today.
Yay.
So once again, you guys know the difference between self-love versus selfish. Okay, so self-love, once again, is doing things for yourself that is actually going to elevate your mood, make you feel better, things that are right for you. And selfish is simply a lack of self-love.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And remember this, the more self-love you have for yourself, the bigger difference you can actually make in your life and the lives of others.
All right. Thank you, and we'll see you guys next time.